Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse Daily Dose of AFA.
Where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing so you can start your day off the AFA way. And in case you have forgotten, every single morning, we're going to remind you because Mark wrote a very important book.
Yeah, you're
Very important.
absolutely fucking amazing.
Exactly
That's
as
it.
you are.
That's it. So why do we remind you every day?
Because we
you
need
may
to hear
not
it.
actually be in touch with that. You know what I mean? Life layers on a bunch of bullshit and you start to believe it. And the person you talk to the most is you. Every day, all day long, all night long. You're constantly chatting with yourself. And so if you're not coming from the place of I'm absolutely amazing, boy, that self-talk can get off kilter pretty darn quick. So
Yeah.
that's why we're reminding you all the time, you are absolutely amazing at your core. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Don't think you need to get another degree. Don't think you need to change anything about yourself. Just revel in the fact that you're amazing.
At your core, exactly as you
Yeah.
are, and so every day, right? What is it?
Yep.
How do we live our best lives, right? We have to start with how do we live our best lives? So it starts with yourself. And
Yeah.
as you demonstrate, the health and the growth and the healing, right? Growing in health, you're going to help others, right? You're going to help others. You're going to be reminding them that they are absolutely fucking amazing at their core. We can get through anything together, right?
Yeah.
We can.
Yep.
We just have to be reminded that we're human and we can do anything if we put our minds to it.
This is Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. Why not start living today? This is your life. It's not, it's not designed to be lived by other people. This is yours. You get to choose. Good morning, everybody. Kristen, Jack, Brian, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, everyone.
So here's the thing. Live this day the way you want to live it.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to anybody else.
No.
You literally don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. You may think that you have to go to work and that you have to do this and no, truth of the matter is you don't. You have full choice in everything that you do. So
it's true.
You choose.
Yeah, conscious choice. So exactly. And know that whatever choice you make, this choice was appropriate for you at that particular moment.
Yeah. And that segues right into the daily love today.
There we go. I love it. All right. What do we got?
Because it's called Your Great Opportunity. And this is from a book called Around the Year with Emmett Fox. And, I pull from Emmett's stuff a lot. Emmett was a New Thought Christian preacher and philosopher in the 1930s, 40s, did a lot of writing. And, he was part of that movement that was, what you think is what you get. Whatever you think is what you're going to manifest. Right. So, he was in line with what was going on at the times. Good morning, Mr. Knox. So with Emmett's stuff, it's always going to come from a little Christian based ideology because Billy was a Christian preacher. So I pull from a lot of different areas. I'm agnostic when it comes to religion, but grew up Christian. So this is going to be from that slant, but here we go. Ready?
Okay, be open. That's what it is. We're open to listening to new things, right? We're
always.
Yes. All right.
Whatever
slant
you're coming from. Yeah. Yeah.
Information.
Ultimately, the message is always the same when you peel away all the stuff put on top. All right. Ready? Here we go. Your present problem is your great opportunity. Your own mind, the secret place, is the council chamber where the arrangements and decisions for your whole life are made. It is also the drafting room where the plans for your destiny are formed. Your life is your laboratory. The world is your workshop. The reason you is here is that you may develop spiritually, and the way to do that is to meet the challenge of practical life. You do not develop spiritually by running away from life into some sheltered retreat, nor do you grow in spiritual stature by gaining your point through willpower. It is the law that any difficulties that can come to you at any time must be exactly what you need most at the moment to enable you to take the next step forward by overcoming them. The only real misfortune, the only real tragedy is comes when we suffer without learning the lesson.
Yeah. Oh God, that's heavy, but it's a good one.
Heavy. Now, because who wants to hear that their troubles are opportunities?
Well,
like, no, my troubles are my troubles.
Well, but the interesting thing, at the time that you're going through the trouble, I can truly understand how people wouldn't see it as an opportunity for growth because it feels icky. Everyone thinks that growth sometimes is always positive, but it's not, because if you think about it, when you're overcoming challenges and problems, what does that do? It builds resilience, right?
Of course it does.
It's a great opportunity to use our minds to counsel. I love that. And who are we counseling? Ourselves, our inner selves, our inner children, that part of you that's scared and afraid, right? And so I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
The lab.
You keep in mind, we're creatures of habit, right? We're just wired to do the same things day in and day out. If it worked yesterday and kept us alive, we'll do it again today. Very, very much meant to do that. I'm wired that way. So the only way that we ever really institute change in our lives and move in a different direction is if things get a little too painful.
Oh boy.
And then when we have that pain in that moment, that trouble, it's the opportunity to step into something new, because that's what forces us to move in a different direction.
And I can I can even tie that into cannabis, right? So
Let's do it.
So even with that whole cognitive dissonance piece of it, right? People are saying no, because they feel it's wrong, even though we're preventing the science. This is an example with my mother. Completely 100% against it, but suffering and pain and doing and trying anything and everything. So, and I just said, can't you do anything? I said, Mom, if you want to try cannabis, this is the next step. And this is I wasn't intent to be mean, but I really needed her to understand, when have you had enough suffering? I don't think you're exploding in pain, you're vomiting pain, but you're not open and willing to look at something different. You haven't suffered enough. It's a really hard thing to say to your mother.
It is a hard thing to say, but she was wired that particular way, right? She needed a certain level of an uncomfortable feeling of pain to move her past that cognitive dissonance to say, well, perhaps I'll try it.
Yeah. And then and then we tie it into the power of storytelling, right? So there was a story that she resonated with from another patient, who happened to be a nun, right? So you think about, so she could identify, the story made sense. It was drawn in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this nun made it okay, because the nun came to a place of acceptance that this plant was powerful and medicinal. Right. She was able to, the great opportunity, right? She used her mind by not listening to me initially, but by engaging in listening to other people that have had these experiences. Her pain finally did get to a point where it was too much, and she needed to change in order to grow and evolve. Right.
Yeah.
And so it leads into, what does it lead into? Our topic of today, right? Because oftentimes when we're in those spaces, when we feel there isn't any opportunities, because we're either suffering, we have chronic illness, chronic disease, and then, mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
So mental health is a form of suffering. I mean, literally, when we're working with patients and we're doing our intake form and asking about pain, sometimes patients won't even put pain when it has to go with depression, anxiety, PTSD. So I even tell them
psychic pain is as painful as any other.
Yeah. And
it
so
really is
asking that question, so you have physical pain. What about mental, emotional pain? Let's look at that on a scale, because where are you in this point in time in your life where we can discuss and have a dialogue around how we can shift perception around taking this moment and turning it into an opportunity, right? All education. So depression is a big one.
It's a biggie. So listen, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're here to talk about mental health. And, it's part of the reason I wrote the book is to, decrease the stigma around mental health, because a lot of it is about my struggles with lifelong depression and mood disorder, right? So I had to figure out what would work for me to treat my disease, my mental health issues, because medication didn't do it. So I had to figure something else out. And so, that's a lot about what the book is about. And I specifically did that because we need to get rid of this stigma that we still have around mental health.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're in a really exciting time in the mental health space because we're about to be able to utilize some tools, some medicinal tools that haven't been in play for quite a while.
And we're going to listen, this is one of the things too, it's going to be cool, Mark. I forgot to tell you about this. So some of our throwback Thursdays, we're going to turn into psychedelic Thursdays to talk about, especially with right? Because it's really important.
Go ahead, Cher. Sorry.
No, you go.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time to be in the healthcare space for us as nurses and for others who are in the healthcare space in regard to mental health, because we're about to step into a new world.
We are.
Like with the treatments that are available today just are not working very well and haven't for very long. So Mental Health Awareness Month, like when you break a bone and they put a cast on it, everybody's happy to sign it. But when you say you're depressed and you're not feeling your best, people go in the other direction. Isn't that true, Sherry? Right?
Oh goodness, it is true. And here's the part too is at one point in time, when I was at my lowest, I didn't even want to be around me. I was like, how do I get away from myself?
Yeah.
And it was like the same thing. It was
We're aware of when we're not at our best.
Yeah. And then the issue was doing everything. We talk about this, everything that the doctors told you to do, right? You do the psychiatrist, the psychotherapist, you try all of the other tools.
Oh my God.
Stacking of
can't name a medication that I haven't tried.
A combination, like all of those, looking at how they were really truly affecting my brain and not working in synergy or harmony with the rest of my body.
Right.
And that's why this plant is so powerful.
That's exactly right. So, the purpose of Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, this has been around since 1949.
Yeah.
Started by the Mental Health America organization, then known as the National Association for Mental Health. Think about that. It's been around since 1949 and we still live with stigma.
We do.
Yeah. We still live with stigma. And so it's crazy.
It is.
Unintended.
No.
The purpose is to raise awareness and educate the public about mental illness and the different types of mental illness, and to reduce the stigma.
Right.
Now, if you look at it from a physiological basis, all that's up here are cells, right?
Tons.
Neurons, synapses, chemical wash, neurotransmitters. Like when they do brain surgery and they open up your head, they don't find happiness. They don't find sadness, right? All they find are all these cells that are interconnected in an electrical chemical bath. And so the circuits light and then they don't light. Right. So you can get wired in certain ways, and mental health issues are pretty much that, right? In many cases, it's wiring in a certain way. It's these things that we try to unravel through talk therapy and medications and so forth. And so, reducing the stigma by understanding that this is something that just, of course, is going to happen because we're human, and that, our brain is not exempt from being part of this humanness. Okay. Mental illness is mental illness.
It is. And how cool is it that there are plants and entheogens and other substances that have the capability of helping us to rewire, right? Regrow the neurogenesis, improving neuroplasticity, improving neural pathways, and then having it stick and work and not go away, right?
Yeah. We talked about that. The adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. They used to believe not very long ago that after the age of 25, your brain didn't change. Like you were set in your ways and you would never change. And that's incorrect. Neuroplasticity is always available. You're always going to be able to grow and change no matter what age you're at.
Right.
So we know that to be true now.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to the description of depression, it's considered in the disease family of mental disorders.
Yep.
Organ system, mental, emotional, nervous system. It's also known as major depressive disorder, recurrent depressive disorder.
Yeah.
So the description,
like, what's the theme, Sherry? What's the theme for 2021? I think we missed that.
We did miss that. So
what's the theme for 2021 with the mental health awareness?
You are not alone. You are
Yeah.
not alone. We are here for you. You know, we are truly here. There are people out there that care and love and kind and compassionate. You just need to find the right ones.
Yeah. And that it's okay to not be okay.
Right,
It's okay
exactly.
to share that.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
there's another thing too, is, you know, people will be like, you got to accept where you're at right now. And what if you can't accept that you're okay? Okay. So here's the thing. Accept the fact that you can't accept it.
Right.
There you go. There's a go. So if you have a hard time with acceptance, then you just say, you know what, at this moment in time, I can't accept that I'm not okay. But you're still going to have to sit with it. Right.
Yep.
And then there's things that we can do. So the theme, you are not alone, also is about providing awareness on mental health wellness tools. Right? So mental health wellness tools, and they exist. You know, all of the things that we talk about nourishing our endocannabinoid system.
Right.
Are really wonderful tools.
Yeah. And so today we're going to cover depression. And hey, I consider myself an expert in that area, having lived it and studied it almost my whole life, my whole adult life.
Yeah. Have you ever had the prolonged, severe, or the clinical depression that was making it even difficult for you to get up in the morning?
Moments in time when that's happened, of course. Yeah.
And that's really hard. That's suffering. That's decreasing quality of life. You know?
Yeah. And so it's hard for other people to understand. It really is hard for other people to understand. And they say, well, why don't you just get up and get out of bed? Come on, let's just get going. When you're in that depressed state, it's just not that easy.
No, you almost need, I'm not going to lie, you almost need someone to come and to be able to hold space for you and just to help you to do something little and guide you. Something little and small, go for a walk, go for a coffee, go for tea, you know, just baby steps, you know, to just get out of the story. Because I remember laying there for months and months and months, circling the drain of despair.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And it was just that loop. It was that loop of the pattern of neurons firing, and that you were in that loop. And how do you jump out?
Yeah.
You know, it's a global epidemic.
Oh,
it really is. And by 2030, the World Health Organization has predicted that depression is going to be the largest global healthcare burden. Like, that's going to be the #1 issue that we deal with.
Right. Right. So according, so I found this, and I'm not sure what the updated statistics are, but they estimated that 350 million plus suffer from depression worldwide.
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. So what causes depression? We don't know.
Exactly. But there are some hypotheses.
There are some hypotheses. But, you know, and we're going to go through those because there is some evidence in all these different areas. But you know what? For a long time, we've been given what? SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, right? Because it was thought that serotonin was right at the root of the depression issue. But what they've recently determined, and now the new thought is that it's not serotonin, that it's not it alone, that it's dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine, that it's this triad, right? So it's so complex. You know, isn't it amazing?
Oh God! Well,
human being.
It is
so complex.
It is, and then you can get into the other PTSD and the cortisol production, and how that relates to depression, and how we get our hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis into the whole thing. So you can see the complexity around the science and how this works. So basically, what is, you know, Western medicine doesn't claim to know the cause, but they do have some hypotheses.
They have some ideas, right? So #1, genetic predisposition. I can tell you that there was depression in my family. My grandparents, some of my grandparents suffered from it. I don't know what my great-grandparents were like, but sure. Could there be a genetic predisposition for it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Certain underlying medical conditions, you know, hypothyroidism can contribute.
Sure. Toxins or nutritional deficiencies, which alter the normal neurochemistry. I mean, it's a very fine balance. You know, these things can knock you out of alignment, so to speak, and you know, wreak havoc with your endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you think about stressful life events, Wow. There's a ton of them. 2020, just think about all the stressful life events that everyone went through.
Yeah.
Right? Deep and sudden changes that we're having, people that all of us, death, dying, sudden diagnoses of illnesses, you have car accident, all of like life events that are unexpected, deep and sudden, and people don't know how to handle those emotions, and so a combination of that and other factors. And the other thing too is pharmaceuticals. So oftentimes too, when you have this sudden lifeful stress event, you go straight to the doctor and they may start you on pharmaceuticals right away just to help you to get over that hump. Right.
Yeah.
And then what do we know?
And the number one, the primary first go-to in these days is an SSRI. And 80% of SSRIs are actually prescribed by general practitioners in this country.
There you go.
Not mental health specialists.
Yeah. I'm not, it's interesting too, that I'll just kind of put out there is that, therapists that I've worked with and the psychiatrists that I've worked with, they are totally 100% open to nutraceuticals. That's the part that's so interesting. So being able to, these practitioners are now incorporating discussions around nutrition and supplements into counseling. So I just, that to me is positive, big time positive.
That is.
Great.
Yeah. So, I'll give you my experience with therapists. There are some that worked for me and some that did not. I was actually fired by a psychiatrist one time.
You were?
Because I wasn't compliant with medication, because he put me on medication. I didn't like the side effects and I would not take it. And I would come back and say, let's try something new. And 3 or 4 visits in, he said, hey, I'm not going to be able to work with you. You're not going to be compliant. I said, well, it is my life and I'm the one who's experiencing the side effects. So I guess we're not going to work together. But I found wonderful providers. I had a wonderful therapist for 10 years. She was fantastic. So, we're not saying that, these traditional therapies don't work and aren't valuable. What we're going to get to is there are other alternatives too, like nutrition, big deal. Yeah. So depressive symptoms, Sherry. I think we all know what they are.
Here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Lack of interest in life.
Yep.
Lack of interest in finding anything that you used to find pleasurable, unpleasurable anymore.
What do they call it? Anhedonia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lack of I can tell if I'm in an episode, Sherry, because I love to fish and I always have, and it's always been my touchstone. I don't feel like going fishing. I'm just not interested in all. I know something's out of whack.
Yeah. Exactly. And so the other thing too is there's comorbidities. A lot of times the people that have depression may also have anxiety, may also have mood swings. We're going to cover manic depression on Friday, and then the suicidal ideation and tendency.
Yeah. Right.
So studies with cannabis.
96 total.
That's awesome. 96 total studies for cannabis and depression.
Right. So here we go. We'll talk about, there were 2 lab, 22 animal, 16 meta-analysis. Again, those are pretty high up in the food chain and as far as reliability. 2 clinical human trials. We're moving in the right direction. 1 double-blind human trial, which is, again, the gold standard when you're talking about an intervention. You want to do double-blind human trials.
Exactly.
So, Sherry, what were the results?
You know how excited I get to share these. So the overall positive of the 96 studies was 79%. That's good. That's really good.
Oh, yeah.
And when they're looking at the clinical data, the positive clinical data was 67%. That's really, that makes me really excited.
Wild, isn't it?
Because it is truly showing. I felt it. I knew it with a capital K. It worked for me.
Yeah.
And now to see all of these and to hear it from so many different people, and now to see all these studies evolving, and in such a short amount of time with 96 of them, which isn't very many, they're already seeing results of being really, really positive. So just think of when they get their shit together about how more amazing, right? When they start to look at other ways and different things about how to, modulate the endocannabinoid system. So there's a synopsis, like a kind of a bottom line of cannabis research for depression. Here's the big one. You ready? Endocannabinoid system. So bringing about homeostasis of our entire body, all of the 11 organ systems, our immune system, and our neurotransmitter signaling systems can work very well in treating depression. So we talk about cannabinoid therapeutics. Cannabis is one piece of the pie. We have all of these other health and wellness tools that are going to help to nourish and support our endocannabinoid system.
Right.
I love that. So they see it as a way of treating depression. Right?
Sure. Couple that with exercise, baby.
I know.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So both pro and antidepressant activities have been reported after the use of cannabis. For example, with the use of a cannabis chemotype 1, which is a high THC, low CBD, dose dependent. Too much THC can make depression worse. So let me tell you this. For me, my personal experience, THC causes depression. So I have to be very careful with THC.
Yeah.
Very, very careful. That exacerbates mine. So may not be the case for other people, but for me, I'm more of a high CBD, lower THC person.
I'm definitely more of a balanced one. Definitely for sure balance. But when I like to use a little extra THC, it's because I want to have a recreational moment, right? But it's true though, I'm not going to lie. So sometimes when you do feel, a lot of time, this is where the concern comes, is that when the THC becomes so much that you are numbing, right? So it's really about bringing in cannabinoids, the balance of THC and CBD that's specific to you.
Right.
It's not going to keep you numb and not doing anything, right? The goal is to wake up your mind, your body, and your spirit to motivate you to do something different. So that's like, my head cracked open and consciousness poured in. Cannabis pulled me out of that story and helped me to look at things from a different perspective and helped me to take the next step to do what I need to do so I could get myself out of that depression hole, right?
Love it.
Love it, right?
Love it.
Yeah. So we talked about this too, about how, we modulate the cannabinoid receptors. We have cannabinoid receptor 1, cannabinoid receptor 2, and then these other cannabinoid sensitive sites. So we know that cannabinoids work on our other neurotransmitter signaling systems, such as the serotonin, the epinephrine and adrenaline, the noradrenaline, norepinephrine.
All of these are part of the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
They're all indicated, right? So I guess homeostasis, going back to that first statement, homeostasis, getting us to a steady state is the key. Right. Making sure that our endocannabinoid system is just operating as finely as possible.
Yeah. Other thing I love too is how, and we've talked about this in some of our various shows, research reports some of the diverse, amazing effects, that's my word, of cannabinoids. They're modulated by these different pathways. So we've talked about the gut and brain axis. That is a huge one for sure, because our nervous system, our mouth to our butt, communicates to our central nervous system via the endocannabinoid system. So it makes sense that the healthier the gut, guess what? Messages are going to go, healthy gut, let's go up to the brain, right? The endocannabinoid system is going to carry all that information to the brain, and we're going to be able to communicate, right? New ways of being able to process information.
Yeah. And you know what? Research is continuing.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh. I mean, so research is continuing doesn't mean we're going to have an answer tomorrow. We may never have the answer. I mean, research has been going on into depression for, decades, even probably longer than that. You know what I mean? For eons, people have dealt with depression, and I'm sure that in the past, healers have tried to figure out what it is. So we may never know, but we continue to do research to try to determine how to better treat it. And, there are things that we know that work, like using cannabis in an effective way, exercise, nutrition, right?
Oh, yeah. Breath work. I mean, all those things, yoga, motion is you already said exercise.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too.
You can say it again. I love it.
I know. Even like meditation, joining us every day for AFA, right? To just really hear how to change your thoughts. Because it's an exercise, right? You gotta use it. You either use it or you lose it.
Right. Right.
Right. And we want all to use all of the tools that are appropriate and necessary. So why?
So let's talk chemotype share.
Yeah. So chemotype. So like we talked about before, the use of THC has been shown to produce either pro-depression or anti-depression, right? And it's all dose dependent. Too much THC can make depression worse. Right. So basically, you know, and also the higher the THC dose, also the higher the risk of the adverse effects. Right. The adverse effects, people cannot feel so good if they do too much. So the goal is to relieve suffering, improve quality of life.
That's right. So we lean towards more of a chemotype 3, which is a higher amount of CBD than THC. And the CBD dominant varieties have been shown to have mostly positive results in mitigating the symptoms of depression. And it's a very favorable safety profile.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing too, so in addition, you know, we talk about cannabinoids and terpenes. And so there's a lot of products that are out on the market that may have those added terpenes that have been shown for decreasing symptoms of depression. And some of those that we've talked about on Terpene Tuesday is terpineol, beta-caryophyllene, limonene, pinene, and linalool. Right?
Yeah. So full plant for the win.
Full plant for the win. Right.
Yeah. So when we're working with patients who are experiencing depression, you know, we look to gather as much information as possible, and we'll use an intake form in association with a PHQ-9, which is a depression screening tool. It's very common in the mental health space. And we want to know what other pharmaceuticals are people on. But I think, Sherry, the number one thing we do is we really understand what their lifestyle is like. Yeah. What are the other things that they're doing or not doing to help regulate their endocannabinoid system?
Exactly.
You know, when you're depressed, a lot of the things that you could be doing to help yourself out, you're probably not, because you're just not motivated, right? It's just part of that depressive moment. So trying to get up and out of that is what we help people do.
Exactly. And then the same thing too is, you know, so we start with the CBD rich cannabinoids and terpenes, and then slowly add THC as needed. I'm not anti-THC for depression, but really it is a fine balance. And you know, you don't, the goal is so we can upregulate our own endocannabinoid system. We want to optimize our own ability to produce our own internal endogenous cannabinoids. So that's why we're here. We want to teach and educate you to make the best choices.
Yeah. And we're glad you're here.
We're glad you're here.
You guys, you're awesome.
Well, I got to do a quick plug. Whoop.
Plug it away. What do you got?
We finally put up, you guys all know that we're having a big event on June 12th at the farm. Activate your endocannabinoid system with the Green Nurses. And so we have sponsors that have sponsored, and we got our first sponsor package. Big plug and thank you to Jesselyn Dolan of Nurse Grown Organics. There's her little logo there. And so what she sent us is she sent us some full spectrum blueberry, elderberry gummies. So people that come to the event are going to be able to sample some of these gummies. I've actually been taking them and I love them. These are really, really good, delicious. So you come, you'll be able to sample these, and they're one of Nurse Grown Organics is one of our affiliates. She's also put in the package 1,500 milligram bottle of full spectrum CBD.
Yeah.
Also a pet tincture and a topical. So these are going to be raffled off. So Nurse Grown Organics has donated products for us to sample and for the raffle. So if you purchase a ticket, you're automatically entered into the raffle to win something. So very, very grateful for Nurse Grown Organics and
Jesselyn.
And so we have a few sponsors that are going to be donating as well. And so we'll be really excited to introduce them to all of you.
Yes.
So June 12th, we put the event link up. I actually shared it everywhere. Yep. The Eventbrite tickets, you can go right on there and you can get your ticket and come see us for a day of breath work, yoga, journey dancing, energy healing, farm life, 20 acres of farm on the ocean.
And, you know, don't miss tonight at 8:00, Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse podcast. You know, we have Captain Jason Straw is on as our guest, and it's going to be a great show. Yeah. Can't miss it. Come on by.
And then finally, we have our energy healing every Friday in the Green Nurse community, Frequency Fridays, where we're bringing you education and information on another progressive healing modality. These are healing modalities that have been around for a long time, but are now circling back into mainstream because the future of healthcare is what? Patient empowerment. So we're bringing you information on this energy healing. You can actually experience it. So that's the Friday at 9 a.m.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
It's been a long one, but you know what? I think it's an important one.
I do too.
It's an important one today. So I'm having an AFA day. I hope you do too. Remember, it's the only Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 you're going to get. Do it, do it, do it. Make it your day. Live your life the way you want. And Sherry, you got to tell me, babe, what's it all about?
It's about living your best life, helping others do the same, and decreasing stigma around what it means to feel good. You all deserve to feel good, and you're all AFA. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you later on.